women don't believe that men hurt after heartbreak. Men, we really don't have safe spaces. We don't have safe spaces on our jobs, even with our homeboys, because we're not really sharing with them our inner struggles, our inner hurts. And we definitely, a lot of us don't have safe spaces in our love lives. We have to wear a hat of we got it all together instead of saying
protector.
And that's the thing, be a protector. So who protects the protector? And so we never understand what that is and what it feels like for a man to say, I don't have it all together. I want to go buy you a nice purse right now, but I ain't got it. And I'll say a lot of women going to end up single for a long time because they're overlooking great quality men because they're not making the type of money that you desire.
Oh, Laterras, you talked about your recent birthday.
My birthday was a reminder that here I am celebrating another birthday alone, and my desire is to be married.
What do you feel is that thing that's been missing when you are meeting people? How many dates do you technically have to go on with somebody to then figure out whether or not they are a viable candidate?
What I want to do is share the story of what led to the podcast. I've never shared that story.
Welcome to Vault Empowers Talks, where we don't just scratch the surface. We dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential change makers. I'm your host, Brandi Harvey. But before I introduce my guest for today, I need you to go ahead and do me a favor. I need you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss your daily dose of inspiration and motivation. But without further ado, this is gonna be a good one, y'all. I feel like my friend has come and sat down across from me. Laterras Whitfield is the celebrated host of the Dear Future Wifey podcast. In April of 2020, Laterras debuted the Dear Future Wifey podcast in an effort to heal his own relationship struggles and chronicle his personal mission to discover, uncover, and recover love. Today, Laterras has become known as the relationship whisperer, and the Dear Future Wifey podcast has been deemed the healthiest platform for love and relationships on the internet. Laterras' lasting impact, not just on matters of the heart, but also through Kingdom Royale, a luxury state-of-the-art foster home for boys that he envisions establishing in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Currently, he's embarked on a startup capital campaign with the ambitious goal of raising $2.8 million. Laterras is a 3-time Emmy-nominated producer, a 2-time Telly Award-winning creator, cinematographer, national playwright, and director. Laterras believes his favorite role on earth is dad. Vault Empowers Talks welcome father, podcaster, playwright, director, and kingdom builder, Laterras Whitfield, to the show.
Man, that's an intro, ain't it? First I was listening, I was like, now who's she talking about? She talking about me or somebody else?
Listen, talking about you, doing all things wonderful. We were talking before we got rolling, and I said I had to change my outfit, Laterras.
Why you had to change your outfit?
I said because it was too much legs. I said your people be eating people up in the comments.
Man, I'm trying to tell you, church folk, you know, they quite interesting. You know what I'm saying? I like seeing legs. Amen.
Amen.
I like seeing legs. So
but it might have been too much. I said I didn't want them saying, Brandi, she up in there in front of that man of God.
Trying to tempt the man of God.
Trying to tempt that man.
Trying to cause that man of God to stumble.
I mean, look, baby, let me tell you, if these legs get you to stumble, honey, I did something right. Okay? So
amen and amen again.
Listen, so it's so good to have you here.
Man, I've been wanting to come on here for a minute.
Listen.
I love what you're doing. I love the platform that you build. I love how you interview, so I'm really interested in what we discover in this conversation today.
This is going to be a good one because you have, since 2020, you have built quite the platform. Well over 500,000 subscribers on the platform since 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, it blows my mind because when you start a podcast, I didn't know what a podcast was.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't even listening to the audio platforms to see what my numbers were looking like on the audio platform. All I was looking at is YouTube and said, I got to get that 100,000 so that I can get that nice little old plaque.
Yeah.
And so God exceeded that. And so it just blows my mind.
I mean, it has to. I mean, to uncover, discover, recover love in your own way.
Yeah.
You started this off by writing letters to your future wifey because you have not always, had the best luck in relationships, as some people would say, because you are divorced.
Yeah, divorced. Been very public about the infidelity that I committed in my past marriage. I always say that I mismanaged the heart of a black woman. And so that's why it's my goal to marry a black woman and do an ultimate do-over where I love her properly.
Wow, do an ultimate do-over where you love her properly.
Yes.
I mean, we were talking off camera, and you talked about your recent birthday.
Yeah.
And you said you did not want to spend another birthday alone.
Yeah. I turned 46 on March the 29th of this year, and I didn't do anything. I went that morning, just got a facial, and I just sat at home. People were calling me, hey, can I take you to lunch? Can I take you to dinner? I said, no, I'm just going to spend this birthday alone. And I just sat there to just be alone with my thoughts. And I was like, you know what, God? I don't like being single. I really don't. I said, it's like the biggest check mark that hasn't been checked yet in that area. And so I'm like, I need to check that box that says married. And so a lot of friends, they be like, man, you single, you got all these options of different women or whatnot. And I'm like, no, I just look at it as opportunities. They're not options. You know, the difference between an opportunity and an option to me is that an opportunity is something like, yeah, it's a woman, but I'm very specific in what I desire. And so that's the only way it'll be an option. And so being single is just a reminder. My birthday was a reminder that here I am celebrating another birthday alone, and my desire is to be married.
Your desire is to be married.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot of single women that come onto the show because you don't just interview people who are married.
Right.
You interview a lot of single women. And I know that when these women come onto the show, everybody is in your comments talking about, I think she's the one.
I think she's the one.
I think she's the one.
I'm going to tell you, they do a good job on picking the type of woman that I desire.
Yeah.
So if a woman is extremely intelligent, a woman easy to communicate with me on the podcast, then they're choosing women that are aligned with my core values, because I do want a woman that's highly intelligent, a woman that loves the Lord, a woman of God, and a woman that I can easily communicate with and laugh. I love to laugh. And so we can laugh together, we can grow together.
We can laugh together. We can go together. Some ladies out there saying they funny. They saying they funny, Laterras. They said, I'm funny. Check my receipts, okay? I'm funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know they be hitting you up. I watched a live that you did with David Shands.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And
he set me up for failure, boy.
He set you up. David Shands set you up for failure, okay? Because Shands knew what he was doing. You get on there and, baby, they start coming out the woodwork on this live. I said, get him out of this live, please.
David's going to have the audacity to put me on that thing and say, hey, women, here's your opportunity to shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot, and they did.
Yeah.
They did.
One was real funny. She said, Laterras, I watch your podcast, and you talk about how, you know, when you get married, you desire a woman to sleep naked with you. She told me, I sleep naked.
I said, baby, listen here. I don't even understand how some of these. Then the lady said, you need to take me out on a date.
She said, hey, listen, I'm going to be in Dallas in July.
Yeah.
I need you to take me out.
I need you to take me out.
And so, see, the way my alpha male is set up, a woman can't do that with me. Like, at the end of the day, I like to be the pursuer. I always say a woman should present and not pursue, and a man should pursue and not persuade. And so what that means to me is that a woman in her full glory and her essence, she just has to just be there and just own who she is, be confident in who she is. And if the attraction is there and I feel a connection, I'm gonna shoot my shot. You know what I'm saying? And so that's just all it is to it. So when she was like, hey, I'm gonna be in Dallas, you need to take me out, all she had to just say is, I'm gonna be in Dallas. And then at the end of the day, if I was interested, I'm gonna slide in the DMs. I'm like, hold on now, you said you was gonna be in Dallas on this day. Hey, let's connect. But, you know, don't flip it and, you know, put me in a feminine role where it's like you telling me that I need to take you out and all that. Just let me be the man.
Ooh, it's a lot of women out here that are really. This is not a hookup show for you, Laterras. I just want you to know.
Okay,
this.
well, good.
I'm not trying to get them to slide in your DMs, okay, on this episode.
All right, good.
But I have to know, because I'm sure there are people who slide into your DMs.
Yeah.
Because Instagram is really like a dating site in a lot of ways. And so when women slide into your DMs, do you politely let them know, like, hey, I'm not interested, I'm the pursuer.
Sometimes I feel like I should do a better job on like telling a woman I'm not interested. I just don't respond. And so, but then there are women that slide in my DMs and I'll go look at their social media. I'll go on their page. I'll look and see what they're talking about, seeing what their lifestyle is, seeing because people post what is of importance to them.
Absolutely.
So if every picture they drinking and partying every time, I'm like, we're not aligned.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'll look and check and see what they're talking about. I read the caption that they put on the picture to hear what they're talking about. And if I feel an alignment, I will respond back and say, hey, I like XYZ. I saw that you went to this country last month. How was it? I've always wanted to visit that country. And then we'll start engaging in conversation. And then I'll see if we have healthy communication just by hitting each other back and forth. And then I'll escalate it later on. It may be a week later or even a few days later if the connection is strong, and I'll hit them up on IG audio. I'll say, hey, can I talk to you? Do you mind if I call you on IG audio? And they'll be like, oh, sure. And I'll talk to them to hear their voice.
I don't even think people realize that IG audio was a feature. Okay, so just know.
Because I ain't trying to give every woman my phone number, so I'll be trying to use all the tools that Instagram provides freely.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, but you said something that really jumped out at me. Healthy communication.
Yes.
And you have had, hundreds of episodes with many married couples, people who are in, long-term relationship, long-term partnership, and communication is discussed a lot.
Yes.
What has been one of the things that you have really learned in doing the Dear Future Wifey podcast about healthy communication?
That transparency is essential. I came up with this quote that says, honesty is telling the truth when asked a question. Transparency is telling me what I don't even know to ask. I desire transparency. And so what happens a lot of times in relationships, the people say, why didn't you tell me that? You know, instead of just, and then when somebody puts that on you, then you have to ask yourself, why didn't I say that? And when the answer is you didn't trust that if you share with them whatever it was that you didn't want to share, that it would be a safe space. And so when people lack transparency in their relationships, that's where the relationship begins to crumble. And so I believe that transparency is so essential because oftentimes honesty isn't, they always say honesty is the best policy, but then with somebody that lacks transparency, they can always project on you and say, well, you just didn't ask me. Yeah. And then the person like, well, I would have wanted to have known that. Yeah. And now you're like, well, if you would have asked me, I would have told you. So now you got to play that game. But if you just lead with transparency and say, hey, listen, now when I was at the gas station, I ran into my ex. We sat there, we talked for a couple of minutes or whatnot. She asked, could we go to lunch? I said, no, we're not going to do that. I'm happily married or whatnot. Like, oh, okay, well, cool. Chilling, you know what I'm saying? But if that wife heard from her homegirl, guess who I saw your husband talking to at the gas station?
Yeah.
Who? His ex. What were they talking about? I don't know, but they sure was laughing a lot. They sure was giggling, hitting each other a lot. And then she comes to her husband and say, so did you run into anybody particularly special today? No, I ain't running nobody. Oh, so you didn't run into your ex? Oh yeah, I ran into her. Now that's a problem.
Yeah.
So transparency is essential for a healthy relationship.
So transparency, how does that work when people who are dating each other, right? You gave the scenario of
marriage.
Yeah. How is it looking for transparency in dating?
If you believe in dating multiple people like I do, then you share that. Say, hey, listen, I believe in dating multiple people. You can date multiple people as well. If we're aligned, we're going to naturally gravitate towards each other, where the other people that we are seeing become a non-factor. And if you are my purpose partner, then God will reveal that to me and God will reveal it to you, and we'll connect on that. But a lot of times people will take people off the market without them being placed off the market. So they'll be like, a dude may say, hey, listen, I can't be dating you if you're dating other people. But then he's still dating other women, entertaining women. I like to make the playing field even and be like, hey, you date folks. You know what I'm saying? I'm not afraid of quote unquote competition because I don't look at it as competition. I look at it as if we are aligned with each other, if we're the person intention to be with each other, we'll be together.
Now, how many dates does it take?
Depends.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop? Okay. So how many dates do you technically have to go on with somebody to then figure out whether or not they are a viable candidate?
I think it's based upon where you are in life. So if one has never been married before, they're in their early 20s or whatnot, then they may, have more time to spend with each other. It's not that serious. And then they start dating each other 3, 4, 5 years, and then, or not even dating each other, they just getting to know each other that many years or whatever, or maybe dating each other. I just think it's according to that person's life journey. So me at 46, I can tell fairly quickly if you're somebody that I'm aligned with, because I also know what questions to ask. And so a lot of times people don't even know what questions to ask, or afraid to ask those hard questions, or those questions that may be a little intrusive, because they like, well, I don't want to scare them off, so I'm not going to ask them that. No, ask them, because you can save yourself some time. Whatever you need to know, ask those questions early.
Okay, so what's one of those hard questions that you feel women have a hard time asking?
Whether God desires marriage. A lot of times people are afraid to even ask that, because they say, I don't want to be a pick-me. I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to push him into marriage, so I'm not even going to ask him if he even desires marriage. I was talking to one of my homegirls the other day, and I said, you've been dating him. I said, he's 48. He's 48 years old. He's never been married, doesn't have any kids. You've been dating him for 8 months.
Oh, God.
Have you even asked him if he desires marriage? Yeah, he desires marriage. I said, did you ask him in what timeline is he looking to get married? She's like, no. But he said that, that he could see himself marrying me. And I said, when? What have you asked him what needs to be aligned for him to make that step? She said, I never asked him that. I said, so now you're going against this invisible timeline that's in his head. And I said, so when will you cut it off? She said, well, probably about a year. If he hasn't made a move, then I'm going to end it. And I said, did you tell him that? She's like, no. I said, see, these are all these conversations that's not taking place.
Absolutely.
That you should have those conversations. Hey, let me tell you something. I'm 44 years old. I don't have time to have a boyfriend for a whole year.
Right.
So I'm intentionally dating in hopes of getting married. Either you're the one or you're not. After about a year, I say, I'll give a guy at least a year to decide what he wants to do with me. And after that time, I'm going to end it. If you let somebody know that, then they'll be like, okay, this is a different type of woman I'm dealing with right now. Because sometimes you may talk to a woman. I've talked to women that said 2 years. I'll give them 2 years. So it just all depends, but you have to be willing to ask those questions so you'll know who you're dealing with. And that's one of the things that people forsake asking, is just ask the questions, especially if you're somebody that desires marriage. And in the reverse, if you don't desire marriage, there's a lot of women that don't desire marriage. And a man can assume that she wants to get married until he asks her, hey, let me ask you something. Do you even desire to get married? And she's like, no, I just want a life partner.
Yeah.
And then you go, do I want a life partner? No, I want to be married. So now you got to have that conversation with that woman that you love, that you're enjoying the time. You felt like you found the one, and she won't budge. She said, I don't want to get married. I don't trust marriage. So just have that conversation early.
That's so good. I think so often, especially for people who have grown up in the church, certain questions become, like off limits. And especially when we get to these big ages, right? And then we start talking about sex. Because sex is very essential in relationships.
Yep.
You are a single man out here who you've talked about in previous interviews that you've practiced abstinence in some parts of your life.
Right.
When you have these conversations with these ladies, you are upfront and honest with them and talking about how important sex is to you.
Right. On both regards. I talk about the importance of me operating discipline and being abstinent, and then I'll talk about the desire that I have a healthy sex life with the woman that God brings into my life. I get even to the point of asking frequency. One of the things that I neglected asking in my previous marriage was, I remember when I got married, my ex-wife said, hey, I just want you to know that our marriage is not going to be based on sex. I said, of course it's not going to be based on sex. I didn't even know what that meant. Now the question should have been, so what do you believe is a healthy frequency for sex?
Yeah.
Back then, we were having sex once every 10 days.
Woo, child.
I was starving.
I know that's right.
And so it's crazy because, Brandi, I never masturbated a day in my life until I got married.
Wow.
I said I was going to write a book during that season called I Started Masturbating Once I Got Married. because I never did. And so what I did, I didn't want my, don't be laughing at my pain, Brandi. Don't be laughing at my pain. No, that's my book I was gonna write.
I was trying to hold it. I was really trying to hold it.
Why you laughing, Brandi?
Because it was, that title was just, I'm with you though. I'm here.
Because the reality was this. I thought that, you know, from the church, you say, I'm gonna get married and we're gonna have bountiful sex. We're gonna have an amazing sex life.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that you may get married to somebody that y'all not sexually yoked.
Yeah.
So that's when I came up with the ideology. I said you can be equally yoked spiritually, but not be sexually yoked. And so you have to have those conversations. And so now, if I'm dating somebody and it's going there, and I feel like this is somebody that I can be with, I say, hey, listen, what do you believe is a healthy sex life, as far as frequency is concerned?
Yeah.
How many times a week? 3 to 5 times, or 3 times a week, or once, or whatever they say. Then I'll make an assessment. And so at the end of the day, you have to be aligned in that way in order for you to even start off on a good foot.
Are you looking for a certain answer?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I'll say at least 3 times a week.
Now, ladies.
Yes. At least 3 times.
Ladies, if you are trying to slide in this man DM and you not trying to do it 3 times a week, baby, you stay out that man DM. Stay out. Don't even go over there in that man DM. Don't do it. He is not. It's not going to be bountiful.
It's not going to be bountiful.
Bountiful. You know, I feel like these are the type of conversations that we have to start talking about, especially in church spaces.
Absolutely.
Because so many of us are miserable in our relationships, miserable behind closed doors because we are not very clear, we're not very honest about the things we deeply desire.
And let me tell you a caveat to that, which is essential. I've interviewed a lot of people, and I had couples on the podcast where the husband was frustrated in their sex life, but as they began to uncover and provide a safe space to that woman, they've also found out that that woman has been a victim of sexual assault.
Yeah.
And so with that understanding, that's what I mean by transparency, to have those conversations, and then that man has an opportunity to exercise grace in that and be like, hey, I don't want to trigger you. I don't want to offend you or whatnot. And then give him the opportunity to help y'all's marriage grow and provide a healthy sex life. Because before I didn't know that, you know what I'm saying? I was just like, something may be wrong with these women or whatnot, that they're not as sexual as I desire. But then after I started having more conversations with women, they say, hey, listen, this is what I've been through and that. Then I have an opportunity to go, oh, cool. We ain't even gotta have sex. We cool. Let's connect on this level. And so that's why I mean by transparency is so important. And of course, you ain't just sharing that with every random date that you have, but that's what I'm saying. When you get to a progression in y'all's dating and y'all are looking at being with each other, share those things.
Yeah.
Because you're giving that person an opportunity to cover you in a way that you may have never been covered in the past.
Yeah. You talk about healthy communication, talk about the transparency, excuse me, even talking about sex and your desires. But what is that thing, because there's so many people that you come in contact with. There's so many women that you meet along the way. What do you feel is that thing that's been missing when you are meeting people?
I felt it in a couple of people that I've dated.
Yeah.
It's just that I always look forward to go the long haul. You know, I've been very open and transparent and vulnerable on an episode that I did called Healing from Heartbreak, where I thought this woman was my wife.
Yeah.
And she thought that I was her husband. And then everything fell apart the next month after I said, let's go through pre-engagement counseling. And her childhood triggers started like surfacing. And
is this the one you told your mom about?
Yes.
This is the one that you
That's
were
the
telling?
woman.
Yeah.
Yes, the woman I told my mom about and said, this is my wife.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so all the childhood triggers started coming and everything fell apart and I was hurt. That was in December of 2022. And so I did an episode on New Year's Day. And I record on New Year's Eve, and I dropped it that first Wednesday of that year. And I sat there on my podcast when people assume that I'm just out here in these dating streets just smashing women from coast to coast. I was like, no, that's really not what I exercise. And I was like, gosh, now I got to be vulnerable that I just took this L. You know what I'm saying? And I did that episode, and I shared it. It was so freeing, and a lot of men found value in it because they said, wow, women don't believe that men hurt after heartbreak.
Yeah.
They just believe like men be like, hey, to get over one, get under another.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not our reality. A lot of times we may exercise that, which I spoke about in that episode. I said, God, please don't let me get in these streets, because I know my capacity, I know my propensity, and I said, God, please don't. I'm saying this in real time on the episode. I said, I'll get into this toxic mentality or toxic phase where I'm gonna be like, listen, you try to show up right for one, they don't want it, forget it. I'm finna just go here and go on a smashing spree. And so I was talking myself off the ledge in that episode and was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna heal properly from this situation, and I'm gonna be better afterwards. But that was a journey that I went through where I was like, this is a person I want to marry. And so we were aligned in all the ways that I was looking for. And so it's just the long haul, it didn't follow through on that.
I mean, this whole podcast really was started because you wanted to uncover, discover, recover all the things about love in your own life. What do you think has been the lesson that many men that you've had to either bear witness to, or something that you've learned, a lesson that you've given about men as they recover love in their lives?
It's to do it again. A lot of men, when they get hurt, they give up. You know, they just be like, man, forget these women. You know what I'm saying? They create songs like, these H's ain't loyal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll create songs, toxic songs that express their hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And instead of saying, you know what? It's okay to love. You know, it's okay to embrace love. It's okay to say, I was hurt before. A lot of men don't talk to their homeboys, be like, man, she hurt me. You know, they just don't share those kind of conversations. It'd be like, man, no, I'm good. So, I mean, you know, you really cared about it. I mean, yeah, she was cool. I mean, but, you know, I'm good. They ain't gonna never say, I cried last night. I literally cried. Michael Basin wrote a book that says Men Cry in the Dark. It's because men are not open and sharing their vulnerability. And that's why God led me to do that on that podcast. Now, I had no intentions of crying on that episode, but I couldn't help it because it was fresh. I was 2 days removed from it. And I broke down crying. And a lot of men appreciated it. They was like, wow, you giving us permission to share our emotions. And that's why I realized this whole journey is about. But most men don't feel like they have a safe space to share their emotions because they fear being called weak. You know, what you crying for? You a weak? Think about a young boy when he can break his leg on the playground, and if he cried, the teacher, a coach, his dad, don't you cry, suck it up. Boys don't cry. And it's like, my leg is hanging off. My leg is severed. I don't have no leg no more. Don't cry, suck it up. Be a big boy. And we're taught very young not to share a natural human emotion that God placed inside of our soul to release pain. Don't cry. So that's why I said that for men, what I'm learning, the first episode that I did that got 100,000 views when I launched my podcast was me and my boy Jay Barnett, when we as two men talked about being hurt in relationships. And women was like, what? I've never heard this before. That was the first episode to get 100,000 views. And so I realized then that men, we really don't have safe spaces. We don't have safe spaces on our jobs. We don't have safe spaces oftentimes even with our homeboys, because we're not really sharing with them our inner struggles, our inner hurts, you know, and we definitely, a lot of us don't have safe spaces in our love lives, whether it's our wife, whether it's a woman that we're dating, because we have to wear a hat of we got it all together instead of saying
protector.
And that's the thing, be a protector. So who protects the protector? And so we never understand what that is and what it feels like for a man to say, I don't have it all together. I can't go buy, I want to go buy you a nice purse right now, but I ain't got it. You know, I want to go ahead and take you to this nice restaurant right now, but I don't have it. And if you rock with me long enough, I promise you, I'm going to get it one day, and I'm gonna give you the life of your dreams. But right now, I just don't have it. He'll fear that woman will look down on him and be like, I don't need no man like that. I need a man that's gonna do this. I need the soft life. I need this. And that could be a really good man, a really solid, good man with character and everything. And what I hate so much in these social media streets is that we've relegated men to dollar signs.
That's it.
When I say that's the most disrespectful thing that has happened to men, if he don't make this kind of money, then he's unworthy to date you. If he can't buy you this, he's unworthy of you. And I'll say a lot of women are going to end up single for a long time because they're overlooking great quality men because they're not making the type of money that you desire.
Oh, Laterras, they're not making the money.
Yeah.
They're not trying to get a short kings at the time of day. They said he got to be this tall to ride this ride. Yeah. I can't do it. And you are saying, y'all, it's going to be
hard out here.
It's going to be hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's why I say we have to start dating by core values. Core values is who someone is, how they show up in your life.
Absolutely.
Instead of all this superficial stuff. I mean, we just get it wrong a lot.
We do get it wrong. But I think society has done a real number on us of telling us what we need. And if the man doesn't have this, then you move on very quickly. But I think once you realize you get to these big ages, you're like, well, the dating pool is kind of
getting a little narrow, getting a little scarce.
That thing is getting tight, baby. It's some people that keep spinning the block in this dating pool because it's not enough. So what would you say to that? Because you all, I feel like, have so many options. Men, I feel like, even as men age, the options for men just expand. You become the silver fox and very gentleman. Oh, he's like a distinguished gentleman, and he's all these things. And women become like, oh, she crazy. She 40, ain't had no kids, ain't got no husband.
Isn't that sad though?
It's so sad.
It's sad, and it's like, and that's what I mean. We have to dispel some toxic myths that are out there, because that's just a myth. You know, for years, I only dated older women. You know what I'm saying? My ex-wife was 4 years older than me. Because I'm a sapiosexual, so I'm attracted to intellect. And so I was more drawn to older women anyway. And so we just got to dispel some myths that women lose their value the older they become. Yeah. And it's just not true. I've met some of the dopest, baddest, beautiful women that are up in age. I'm talking about 50s. Some women I'll be looking at like, you 50 what?
Yeah.
You 50 where?
Yeah.
You know, it's that level of stuff. And so when you really understand who you are, that's what I believe, that we all need to take a break and find out who we are.
Yeah.
Because once you find out who you are, you will see life differently. And when I say who you are, when you sit back and say, what do I really want? What really makes me happy? It was an episode that I did with Lisa and Tom Bilyeu, this white couple, billionaires.
Oh yeah, you did it on their platform.
Yes,
yeah.
I went and did their platform, and then I did an episode where I did a Dear Future Wifey podcast at their home. Now, Tom, when they started dating, Tom was broke. Tom didn't have money. Tom didn't even have the blessings of Lisa's father on his hand in marriage. He was like, listen, you can't marry my daughter. You broke.
Yeah.
But Tom's a billionaire now. Because she said something that was so impactful, and I'll never forget it. She said during that time in her 20s, she would date guys with nice cars, nice rims, systems in the car. You know how it was. And so that's what she was attracted to. She said her date with Tom, he pulled up in this little broken down car. He was borrowing his grandfather's car or something. And he got out. He had these little work clothes on, kind of dingy. And she was like, wow, he came and picked me up with this. A lot of stuff in the back seat. She said, but he did something that no other guy did. He got out the car and opened the door for her. Mm. And she said, wow, I felt something in this.
Yeah.
She said at that moment, she realized that Tom touched her core value. She said, I love chivalry. Didn't even know that she loved chivalry. But when she experienced it, she said, this is what I desire. Forget the fancy rims, forget the nice car. She said, he took the time to get out and open the door for me. And when she saw that in Tom, that's what made her lock in with Tom. And she defied her own father's request on not marrying him. And she got alongside of him, supported him. and they sold $1 billion company, Quest
Yeah.
Nutrition.
Yeah. I think those are when you talk about the core values, I think Stacey J. Johnson was on here. She talks about the core values. So many people talk about how that's so important for your relationships. But one of the core values that's important to you is fatherhood.
Oh, yes.
And this is hook, line, sinker. This is like the way to your heart is your children.
Right.
And I want you to talk about the relationship you have with your children, because it really is the work that you're doing in the kingdom.
Yes, thank you. Father to daughter, my senior in high school, Laterras. Shout out to her.
Yes, come on, Laterras.
Yeah.
Listen, you your daddy child.
Laterras, that's your name.
Who's your daddy?
Laterras. And so Laterras was my daughter, born 2 weeks before I graduated high school. And that's what matured me as a man. I said, okay, I got to grow up. I said, because now, I got to provide for this young girl. I have to show her that I will be present in her life. At that time, it was the best option for me not to go to college. And so I didn't go to college because I want to be hook, line, and sinker in my daughter's life. And so I was just present, got into the workforce and started raising her. Gave my life to Christ with her in my arms on December the 22nd of 1996.
Oh, wow.
And she was in my arms. I walked down there because I said, there's no way I can learn to be a great father unless I submit to the ultimate father.
Ooh.
And so that was what my decision making was. And I used the Bible and scriptures to mature me as a man of God. And so then life goes on. After my divorce, my nephew was placed in foster care prior to my divorce. And after my divorce was final, I said, listen, I got to go get him out of foster care. So I got him out of foster care to foster him in hopes that my sister and his dad would get their acts together and could, he can re-enter in their lives. Well, that didn't happen. And so that is when I was thrusted into this world of foster care. Became a licensed foster parent, later adopted him. And I told God I'd be willing to adopt another kid, but they'll have to be 16 years old. I wanted to get a hold of a kid those years right before he becomes an adult to help put him on the right trajectory. And so I was summoned by WFAA, the news station, the channel, the affiliate, the ABC affiliate in my market, and said, hey, we're going to do a Wednesday's Child episode, and we know you do a lot of stuff with the homeless. Would you be willing to chaperone this young boy on this journey? And I was like, how old is he? They're like, I don't know. Why does that matter? I said, how old is he? They said, well, I don't know. I said, can you find out? Because God knew that private prayer, I said.
Yeah.
And I was like, hold on. I wasn't ready to, do it then. You know what I'm saying? I'm single. I was like, I want to be single. And she already got my nephew. And so they called me back, said he was 15 years old. I said, I got to talk to y'all later. Like, what's going on? I said, just give me a minute. I'll call y'all back. I called him back, and I said, I'll do it. And at that moment, I knew that God was setting me up to adopt this young boy. He was placed in my home on his 16th birthday.
Wow.
I documented that whole experience, and that's where I got one of my regional Emmy nominations from, and I called it Pursuing Armani. And so fatherhood is so important to me because I recognize that that's one of the things that boys get their identity from their fathers.
Yeah.
The reason why we have so many men walking around aimlessly, not knowing who they are, is because they didn't have anybody to place identity on their lives. And even if their father didn't give them identity, then you have another caveat. If you submit to our heavenly Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, then he can give you identity, give you purpose, and give you calling. And so when I say fatherhood is so important to me, is because I recognize that when fatherhood is stewarded right, not perfect, not saying you ain't gonna make no mistakes by your child, but by being present. Present is so impactful. Your presence is so impactful that if you steward fatherhood correctly, then we can have better husbands, better friends, better men operating in this earth. And so that's why it's so important. And so Kingdom Royale is also a byproduct of that, of saying, listen, it grieves my heart to see so many young boys age out of foster care without having a place that they can call home. And so I said, God, my life's mission is to create a foster home for these boys, but spare no expense. Make it a palace, where these boys come to and they're called kings.
Yeah. That was you and St. Marshall's connection, that Wednesday's Child.
Yeah. Sent my homie. Sent probably would be mad if I told the world this, but she's the first person that ever donated to Kingdom Royale. She wrote me a check for $10,000 and said, here, don't say nothing, don't even say thank you. And she ran off. I said, how you just hand me something and run off? I didn't even have a bank account set up for Kingdom Royale at that point. I was like, what? And it was a blank check. And no, she wrote Kingdom Royale on. And I was like, well, that means and that's what gave me the courage to say, I got to go ahead and do it now. And that's what made me say, if this woman, just by hearing me talk about it, we were out volunteering at Minnie's Food Pantry, and we were talking about our foster care and adoption stories or whatnot. And I said, man, this is what I want to do. And I shared it with her. She said, you wait right here. You wait right here. And I was shooting the project for Minnie's Food Pantry. And she said, you wait right here. She left. She came back, handed me a check for $10,000 and ran off. I said, who gives somebody money and run off?
I mean, St. Marshall, because, you know, she's done the show. She's a good friend of the show. And when she just sees children, you know, her heart just lights up.
I love
but y'all
woman.
folks over there in the DFW, because you said Minnie's Food Pantry, that's Cheryl Action Jackson.
Yeah.
You know, me and her go way back.
Yeah.
Listen, so
that's my people.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cheryl.
Cheryl is doing such great work in the Dallas community.
Yeah,
she has been for years.
And that's why I like hanging around change agents. I like to hang around people who make their life's mission greater than their own life. They say, that God placed me on this earth to do something. Let me go ahead and impact millions of lives. And so, you know, shout out to Cheryl, shout out to Cent for just being a visionary. I just love the heart of St. Marshall.
The heart of St. Marshall. So the heart of you in this season of your life, because you are, I'm going to switch gears and go back to this marriage thing.
Mm-hmm.
The heart of you said that don't get married unless you plan on sacrificing.
Yes.
That is a thing that you live by. But then you also said you are not signing a prenup.
No. And whoever I marry, if she needs a prenup signed on her behalf, I'll do it effortlessly. The reason why I won't sign a prenup is because when I get married, I'm giving everything. Everything I am, you have access to. And I don't look at it as a prenup. To me is, if it doesn't happen, if this doesn't work out, then this is my recourse. This is my backup plan. I don't have any backup plans when I say I do. That's why it's so important to vet properly and have those real conversations going forward. And truthfully speaking, if, you know, never wish this on my marriage, but if we did experience a divorce, I'm telling you, I'm such an optimist that I will still have more after that divorce than I did prior to.
Now, I got to tell you this, because we had a woman on the show. We had Samaya Gore, who was on the show, and she talked about, on this episode, she stressed to ladies on the show, she said, if you don't sign a prenup, you need to look into a postnup, something that you can sign after you all have entered into the marriage. And if, you know, you have a business, or if things, you know, go, there's a net there that can catch you. What do you say to that?
Like I said, to each his own. The way I look at life, I'm just saying for me and my house. And so the way I look at my life is saying that this, I know I can't show up fully as Laterras if I told my wife to sign a prenup. I know that about me. That's why I say for everybody can do whatever they decide. I'm saying for me, there's no way I can look at you and say, listen, I love you with everything, with every fiber of my being. I believe that you're bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I believe that these vows that we're going to take for richer, for poor, for sickness and in health, through goodness, all the stuff that we say. But I'm gonna need you to sign this prenup.
Here you go.
I'm gonna need you to sign this right here. I done sat down with my attorney. They said, hey, listen, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna take care of you now. If it don't work out, this is what we're gonna give you. But I'm gonna need you to do this, because I won't have peace of mind marrying you unless we cover this right now. It just won't work for me. Like for me, it's like saying, because I'm looking at, and you know, some people be like, that's fairy tale-ish. If 50% of marriages end in divorce, why don't you protect yourself? And I'm saying, why would I protect myself from the very person that I love? Thank you, Holy Spirit. The problem is that we enter into marriage thinking about protection. Ooh. Marriage is not about protection. Listen right here, and got me excited. That's the problem. That's the thing. We get married saying, I have to protect my assets in case it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
You're already starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
There's no way I can get married to you and be protected at the same time, because marriage is about sacrifice. Marriage is saying, I'm on the altar. I'm sacrificing my feelings. I'm sacrificing things that I need to happen, that if this don't happen, then I'm out. All this crazy stuff that we start marriage is about sacrifice. I'm marrying you. Some days I'm not going to like you.
Yeah.
Some days I'm going to get frustrated. Some days I'm going to want to leave you. Some days I'm going to get frustrated with you and feel like I married the wrong person.
Yeah.
But I'm going to still stay here. I'm going to still be locked in.
I'm going to stick beside him.
I'm going to stick beside him because I made these vows. To death do we part. Now, I ain't saying go ahead and speed up the process and kill the man, but I'm saying at the end of the day, you have to be able to understand those vows that you took, or just don't take them.
Yeah.
If you're not in the heart posture or the mindset that where you can marry somebody without protecting yourself. Because think about it, what happens oftentimes, people don't fully invest in their marriage because they're protecting themselves.
Yeah.
And you get it a lot from a lot of the old school mamas that say, baby, keep your little money on the side. So in case something happens, you got your little money. Think about that. Think about the deceit.
Or he needs to love you more than you love him.
Where does that come from? Like where does that? I've heard that before.
He needs to love you more than you love him. A lot of women say that.
And make that make sense. Tell me, as a woman, if you connect with that, how does that make sense?
I don't know. Because I don't feel like that. Because it's been too hard for me. Like, I be like all in when I love. So it's not, I haven't been in those relationships where it's worked because he's loved me more than I've loved him.
Because it doesn't make sense. Anytime, it's already saying it's an imbalance already.
Yeah.
If I love you more than you love me, like, then I'm always feel like you don't love me a lot. You know,
You're always going to be questioning it.
Yes.
Like, you're always, and I think that is a real conversation, because so many of us were really indoctrinated, really ingrained. I'm sure some people here who they knew, their grandmama, their mama said, make sure he love you more than you love him. And
see, I would love to ask Grandma, what does she mean by that? Because at the end of the day, that just doesn't make sense. We express this toxic school of thoughts and then wonder why it don't work out.
Yeah.
I always say, you love with your whole heart, and he should love you with his whole heart, period. Withholding nothing. One of my favorite songs is that song, Withholding Nothing.
William McDowell.
Yeah, William McDowell. He said, I surrender all to thee. Everything I have, I give it to thee. He said, withholding nothing, withholding nothing. That's how marriage is to me. I can't get married to you and say, I love you, but I'm going to hold this. And sometimes we sign prenups on our heart. We say, I'm going to love you, but I ain't going to give you all of me, because if I give you all of me, you could destroy me, and I'm going to never give anybody that power to destroy me.
Yeah.
No, love with everything that's inside you. And if it don't work out, go through the process of being broken. Go through the process of being restored, because that's the only way you know that you did it right.
Yeah.
You can't become one with somebody and then say, well, I know it's about oneness, but I'm not going to truly become one.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I'm going to be about 75%. I'm going to be 75%, but I ain't going to be, it just doesn't work. And that's how we approach marriage. We approach marriage like that. Like I said, to each his own. Some people need a prenup. Do what you do, whatever you feel is necessary for you. And if you never need that prenup, then that's even beautiful too. I'm saying for Laterras, there's no way I could say I do to somebody, but then have a backup plan in mind.
Yeah, no backup plan. You do a lot of live events all around the country. You host them at churches, venues. You even host retreats.
Right.
You've had a lot of viral moments from the live events. They get litty. What has been the biggest lesson that your audience has taught you, especially when they come in, meet you in person? What have they really shown you about the show or about you as a host?
One of the things that touches me the most is the impact of the podcast. Where I had this couple, I did the podcast at New Birth last year, and this couple, it was a singles event, but this couple decided to bombard the event, and they came to the microphone.
That sounds about right, New Birth. I go there.
Yeah, New Birth. Exactly. So this couple comes in there and says, there's no way you could be this close to us and we not come and share with you that your podcast saved our marriage. They said that we were about to file for a divorce, and one of our friends sent an episode that you did with David Burris, where the episode was titled "Being a Husband Ain't Fair." And she sent that episode to her husband, and her husband watched it and was like, I feel seen.
Yeah.
And they began to share their story or whatnot. And they said, our desire is to one day be on your podcast. I said, not only are you just did that because we record these live events, but I want to personally invite you to come on the podcast so we can unpack your whole journey. When I say that episode was so beautiful. So my whole thing with doing the Dear Future Wifey podcast was not only to discover, uncover, and recover love for myself, but in hopes other people would discover, uncover, and recover love for themselves. And my goal is to help change the divorce statistics. If the divorce statistics was, 50, can we get like 49, 47? Can I be impactful to the point where you say, you know what, since the Dear Future Wifey podcast existed, 3% of people decide to stay in their marriage and have healthy marriage. And outside of that, people decided who said that they were never going to get married. They got the tools and heard transparent conversations so that they can do relationships right. I have a lot of 22-year-olds that come to my live events, and I'll be like, what y'all doing here? They be like, we want to do it right. We want to learn how to do it right. Yeah. And when I tell you that brings tears to my eyes to see somebody that's 19, 20, 23 years old that see the impact of the podcast and say, I want to learn as much as I need to learn about relationships so that when I do it, I do it right.
Yeah, do it right. Do it right. As we begin to close out this interview, one word you're committed to in this season of your life. One word.
Submission.
Ooh, submission.
Submission.
Ooh.
And when I mean submission, I mean
men don't give this answer. No. They don't give submission as the answer. I love this.
Because you know what, and it's important to even understand that, is because we're always telling women to submit, but I know that in my life I have to be a submitted man in order to expect submission from a woman. So I have to have authority that I'm submitted to. Not only am I submitted to Christ, but I'm submitted to my pastor. My pastor can check me. My pastor can call me out on stuff. If he see me doing stuff out of order, I gave him that authority over my life. And I did a real visual representation of it when I did the podcast, or I spoke at my church a couple of years ago, and I physically got down on my knees and bowed before him and said, I submit my life to you.
Oh, wow.
And so what I understand the importance of submission is you have to, I read in the Bible that a man in authority has to be under authority. So I can't walk around and expect everybody to listen to me. And the Bible also says this, we always hear that wives should submit to their husbands, but that scripture also says, submit ye one to another.
Yeah.
So a lot of times men don't like that part of the scripture. And the truth be told is that if I can submit to Christ and my wife submits to me, then I should be able to submit to her. And so we're submitting to one another, and it makes a beautiful, balanced relationship. God never expected relationships to be imbalanced. And sometimes when people hear that a woman is submitted to her husband, they look at it like, I ain't finna have no man control me and all that. It comes from a negative perspective. But then when you hear a woman that has been loved healthy and properly, she says, I have no problem submitting to my husband. Because submission isn't saying that you're doing everything that somebody tells you to do. It's saying that I'm submitted to somebody who takes into account my feelings, my needs, my desires, and then makes an executive decision that is for the well-being of both of us.
I love that. I love that. Because you don't hear a lot of men talk about their need to submit. Because man does need a governor.
Yes.
Like, he needs a governor. Yeah. Yes. And we have to be governed. Yeah.
Amen.
Or we lose ourselves.
Totally.
Oh, so what's next on the horizon for you, Laterras? I mean, you're a playwright, you're a director, you're a producer, you got a podcast studio that you've opened, all the things that, bring all this new creation into your life. So what are you most excited about?
I don't know. I've been toying with the idea of going back to my first love of theater and doing Dear Future Wifey podcast.
The stage play?
The stage play.
Come on, stage play. Come on, David E. Talbot.
Yeah, that's funny because, listen, you just operating in the prophetic. I was with David Talbot last month when he encouraged me to do that.
Wow. Okay.
I was at his house, and he always called me Dirty Sal. He said, Dirty Sal, Dirty Sal. Listen, Dirty Sal, when you going to get back and do plays again? And I said, man, I don't know. He said, man, if you did Dear Future Wifey, the stage play, bruh.
You got enough scenarios.
Yes.
You have enough storyline.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is share the story of what led to the podcast. I've never shared that story. I've never shared the toxic relationship that I was involved in that birthed the Dear Future Wifey
in
podcast.
2020.
Yeah. Well, I was in that relationship from 2015 to 2018.
Oh, so this was a long time.
That's
so
what
you
birthed.
knew she wasn't your future wifey?
Nah.
You knew.
But I was just fresh out of divorce, and yeah, wait till you see the play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm really intrigued.
Yep.
Laterras.
Yeah.
I mean, you see how that.
Yeah.
You see how my antennas are up.
Yeah.
You know.
That was the point.
So you were in there for 3 years.
3 years.
3 years. And how did you know? When did you know in that 3 years that this was not the one for you?
I knew it early on. I knew it in the first couple of months, but I kept, because I experienced a failed marriage, I said, I can't fail at this. So I said, I'm gonna do everything in my power to fix this. And it was unfixable. You can't fix somebody like that. I'll leave it like that. You just can't fix it.
You can't fix somebody like that.
Nuh-uh.
Well, Laterras, this has been a really good conversation. I feel like you have, one, it's not hard for you to have good conversation. I felt like that the first time I met you. We had really great conversation. We sat for hours.
Really good conversation.
Yeah, we sat for hours. People don't know. Like, I was really trying to keep it PG with you.
When I say Brandi is hilarious. When I say man, my side was hurting. I said, Brandi throw it off.
Real hard.
I said, Brandi throw it off. That's
yeah, I was throwed off. We cut up something real bad when you was here in Atlanta that time. So no, I don't think it's hard for you to have good conversation with anybody. And you're just, I think you've really set a bar for the podcast world. I think for using your own vulnerability, for using the platform to create healthy spaces for relationships in a world on the internet where everybody talking about 50-50 and who doing what and
red pill, pink pill.
All the pills, baby. They on the pills, okay? And for you to really talk about marriage and honoring it and the sacrifice that it takes, kudos to you.
Man, that's all God. Because I didn't know what I was creating while I was creating it. I just said I want to create a space for me where I can show up as who I am in front of the camera is who I am, off camera. It's just it. So I said I want to create something where I can be authentically me. Yeah. And whoever my tribe is that gravitate towards it, then come on. And those not, then listen, I'm not for you.
I know. I tell people that too. I am who I am on and off camera with like more cuss words off camera. Okay.
Facts. Listen, facts. Extremely a lot of cuss words. But she love Jesus though. But she gonna cuss. But she gonna cuss now.
But I'm gonna cuss you out, okay? While I have my tambourine, okay? I'm gonna shout all the way. Laterras, thanks for joining me today. Vault Empowers Talks, another good one for the books. Be sure to like, be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe, be sure to share this with somebody who needs their relationship set on another trajectory. So thank you, Laterras, for joining me today. I'm your host, Brandi Harvey. Until next time, eat well, give a damn, move your body every single day. Peace.